Hi there and welcome to this holistic yoga video where we're going to have a little discuss or think about the autonomic nervous system. So this is a part of our nervous system that governs our digestion, our immunity, our heart rate, how fast our blood goes around our systems. It affects a lot of all of our organs really. And it's kind of like it's good to think of it as a slider whereby when we're able to rest, we go into this parasympathetic part of our nervous system where all of those processes are switched on. So we can digest better, we can sleep better, our body repairs itself, our liver does all the work, our pancreas does lots of work, all the things, all the processes that go on in the background that we don't think about are kind of switched on, and it's kind of like everything sorts itself out in the background when we're in a rested state. When we go into a more active state, and particularly when we go into a bit more of a challenged state, all of that switches off. Because our body is wanting to support us in being able to move, in being able to run if necessary, in being able to power our muscles to fight or run away. Hence that part of our nervous system, the sympathetic, is called the fight or flight system. So obviously it's on a scale. So we can go up towards that and we can go even beyond that. And if things get very dangerous, if something in our life we perceive as life-threatening, then we go almost back to square one. We go into a state of freeze, which is again the vagus nerve. So it's that rested state, but it's not a good rested state. So it's a rested state where we shut off, we shut down, we close down our communication, and we do all those processes, but it's not in an engaged and relaxed state. It's more in a shutdown, so we can kind of shut ourselves off from our environment and the people around us. So these are the kind of three states that our nervous system can go into. So you can think of it as that rested, engaged, socially connected state, which is the ventral vagal. And then there's the fight or flight, which is a bit more active. It's like when we get a little bit stressed at work and we have to do things, or there's somebody that's making demands on us and we feel a little bit challenged, or somebody that we don't feel comfortable with. And those kinds of things put us into this slight kind of danger state. It can be very mild, but it can still trigger off this tension and shut down our ability to rest and digest. And then if that becomes even more of a challenge, even more dangerous, perceived danger, then we shut down completely. And that's kind of like when our mind goes blank, when we just need to sit and stare for a little while, when we feel really in a lot of shock and we don't know what to do, then we can go into that state. If we've had like a sudden shock, then often we can go into that state. And we cycle through those states in our everyday life, but sometimes we can get stuck in one particular state. It's fine if we get stuck in the social engagement, or perhaps not. We need to get going in our lives and do things, and we need to have an awareness of danger so we can protect ourselves. That's not such a problem though. But when we get stuck in the sympathetic fight or flight state for a long time and we can't switch out of it, we get stuck into it, then we start to have problems. We start to feel tense, more tense, we start to feel anxious, our heart rate might go up, we might feel fluttery, our heart rate might change and not be so steady. We also might find that we're not digesting as well, we're not maybe going to the loo as much as we used to, or it's erratic. Other symptoms are just more tension in the body and more tension in the mind. And because we're having all these symptoms, it can kind of feed itself and we can get more and more into this state of not feeling good in ourselves. And we can also get stuck into the shutdown state, which can cause symptoms like depression and not being able to, not really like, not wanting to talk to anyone, being really quite withdrawn. And on a long-term basis, obviously that's not going to be good for us. In a short-term basis, that can be the perfect solution. If we're very ill, we can go into this state because then it conserves our energy for being able to heal. But at some point, we need to come out of it. So it's about not getting stuck. The beautiful thing about yoga is it offers us so many ways and techniques of getting out of being stuck in either the dorsal vagus nerve, which is the shutdown, or the sympathetic part of our nervous system, which is the fight or flight. And if we get stuck there, there are ways using the yoga that we can edge ourselves back. So often we come back from the dorsal, the shutdown, through to the stress, and then from there through to the social engagement. So sometimes that can be a really good sign if you've been depressed, to come into that kind of a little bit angry, a little bit tetchy, a little bit anxious. That can actually be a sign that you're moving through and moving towards that more settled part of your nervous system. So sometimes it can be a bit of a shock to go through there, and it can feel like a step back rather than a step forwards, but it's actually a step forward. So see it as a good sign.